Excellent. Okay, so welcome to another amazing live stream. This time I'm here with Jonathan Kravitz, and we anticipate the infamous Ben will join, as he should. So Ben was the editor for Jonathan's phenomenal piece of How We Were Before. And for those who may not be familiar, so How We Were Before is about when a savage home invasion results in the death of a town's most glamorous couple. The surviving friends and relatives of the victims must navigate the emotional aftermath. Exasperated high school vice principal Zachary Rivers makes a final effort to reach a troubled student. Town librarian Shelby Blythe, the eldest daughter of the murder victims, begins a correspondence with Billy Lawson, her parents' murderer. Evelyn Kavanaugh, a retired marketing manager and beloved family friend of the Blythes, embarks on a luxurious cruise as a prelude to suicide. Noam Russell, Lawson's best friend, returns to Benfield to claim a share of his deceased father's estate. And Samantha Blythe's maternal attempt to help an employee evokes a renewed desire to connect with her own family. The spaces between stories are haunted by echoes of the deceased couple's life. From the ignorant bliss of first impressions and great expectations to the tumultuous troubles of middle age and finally an undying hope for reconciliation. And a little bit about Jonathan. He's an award-winning author whose work has appeared in journals such as Cardinal Sins, the Rappahannock Review, Narrative Northeast, the Opiate Magazine, All the Sins. Man, the titles alone are freaking killer, right?
A lot of sins in there.
A lot of sins in there, absolutely. And his plays have been produced in New York, Dallas, and in the UK. He's twice been a Eugene O'Neill Playwrights Conference semifinalist. His plays have been published in the Exposition Review, the Iris Literary Journal, and among other journals. He is the founder and former editor in chief of the literary webzine ducts.org. And with that, I just have to ask, so what inspired you to write How We Were Before?
Um, I guess a couple of things. Um, I guess I'll just talk about the logistical inspiration, and then I can talk about sort of the thematic inspiration.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, logistically, I was writing more traditional novels
Mhm.
and sending them out, and I got close with a couple. A few agents were interested, and it kind of came down to the wire. And even a small press was interested in one of them. It really came down to the wire, but um,
Hmm.
nothing happened.
Hmm.
And that can get frustrating after several years of that, more than several years. And I always write short stories, and I happened to read *The Imperfectionist*, the Tom Raikman novel, a novel of connected stories, and it made me think, hey, maybe I could just do this. I can write a book of connected stories, which I love doing. I love that process. And if the book itself doesn't get accepted for publication, hey, I have a bunch of stories and I can send those out. It won't feel like quite such a dead end.
Mm.
Like when you send a novel out, it doesn't get accepted. You just have your novel sitting in your computer.
Right.
So there's just logistically, that's kind of what sparked me to try this.
Mm.
And then in terms of a thematic inspiration, the book takes place in Massachusetts, where I grew up. The town in the novel is a kind of combination of my hometown and then a town nearby where I worked for a few years as a reporter.
Oh, cool.
So it comes from uh, not exactly people I knew,
Hmm.
but just from I mean, some of the events in the book actually did take place. They actually did happen.
That's where I was
So
going to go next. Yeah.
yeah, they actually did happen. So like the inciting incident of the novel is a double murder of this older couple.
Hmm.
And that older couple, that's the story that we tell in between all the chapters. So we sort of tell from when they met to the end of their life. So that really happened in my hometown. A guy I knew went into a home, and with the intention of robbing them, as it was in my novel, and then murdered them for for
Wow.
no for no real reason. Um, in addition, there is in my novel, there was a police chief who worked in the town where I was a reporter, who was stealing
Oh.
drugs from their store of drugs that they had confiscated and selling it, and
Oh
he got
my.
caught and went to prison.
Mm,
So looking back, I mean, my experiences of my childhood in my hometown were not negative. I mean, I enjoyed small town Massachusetts, but
mhm.
when I look back, there were some crazy things that happened that I guess I was a little bit oblivious to. And so I use those as a kind of a spark for the novel to kind of imagine this world where all this kind of desperation is kind of seething beneath the surface.
Got it. So, and what was your favorite part of writing the novel?
um I guess the writing part, not the editing part. I mean, I like writing and editing, but each of the stories I wrote separately. In
Mhm,
fact, a few of them I had written before I had the idea to do this as a novel.
mm,
About three of them I had already written. So I enjoy the process of crafting the stories, the developing the character, and then putting them in motion and kind of seeing where that's going to take me.
mhm.
I really enjoy it. One of the stories in the book wasn't in the original draft of the book.
Oh,
So,
okay.
oh, a cat.
Yeah.
It's a special guest star cat. Um, I had shown the book to an agent, and she liked it, and she thought, the story's coherent, but there's one that she thought did not fit.
Hmm,
And when I really looked at it, I had to agree with her.
mhm,
So I took that story out and I put in another story, Paradolia, very hard word to pronounce.
mm.
And, that was really fun to write. That story came out really quickly.
Oh,
I
cool.
wrote that in like a couple of weeks, which is really fast for me. I
Mhm,
usually write that fast. And then, of course, there's a long editing process that's involved with all of the stories.
mhm,
Um, that's can be fun when it's exciting to see where stories are going to go and how to make them better. I find that exciting, but
mhm,
also when you realize, oh wow, this isn't working,
mhm.
uh, and getting feedback, this character thing isn't right. It can be frustrating. um, but I always accept that anyway, accept the criticism anyways, because I know ultimately I'll be
Mhm.
making it better.
And it's funny because I what I think every editor has and every author have their own way of like editing the piece. Like you have your own style that you develop, over time.
Mm.
Um, how did you and Ben work together on it? And are you happy with the product that will be out officially in 2 days?
I'm very angry at Ben. That's the whole reason I did this live stream, was to yell at Ben.
Hell yeah.
No, I'm very happy with what we ended up with. I in the original drafts, my girlfriend, who's an editor, helped me a lot, really crafting the stories. So that
Mm,
helped tremendously. And then Ben is cool. He has very strong ideas,
mhm,
but he's also not there to hit you over the head and force you to or convince you that what he's has to say is correct. So
mm,
a lot of the things he said about maybe little character things, um, I did agree with,
mm.
and I changed things. And there were some things I said no. I think you're missing something, and I would point it out, and he would be cool with that. Yeah. Well, now I see what you're doing, and maybe actually we need to change this little thing, and we'd figure
Mhm,
it out together.
mhm,
Um, so that was cool. And also, I am not like a big picture person. I'm not great at that, like
mhm,
finding inconsistencies.
Mm,
Oh, something here on page 77, and actually later on page 200, you said the exact opposite thing. So that
mm,
can't, something's wrong there. He's really good at that. He found a lot of little things like that in the book
mhm,
I never would have seen. It just would have gone right through me.
mm.
So yeah, it was a good process.
Very cool. And is there anything that like you're working on now that is, well, it doesn't have to be related to this, but just out of curiosity, since this is a novel that's basically linked short stories.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious if you have other short stories that are related to it, or if you have anything else that um yeah, that's related to it that you're working on or have in the back
Sure.
burner.
Well, the story that I pulled out was published. It's called The Loyalty of Elephants.
Mm,
People can find that on my website,
mm,
jonathankravitz.com. I can find a link to it there. So if people who read the book also want to read like an extra story, a 13th story,
mhm,
they can find that story. And I spent the last 2 years writing a new book. The How We Were Before is, it's not a mystery. It's a crime novel, but a literary crime novel, right? It's not a mystery. We know who the murderer is, and the book isn't about figuring that out.
mm,
Um, I spent the last couple of years writing a straightforward mystery, a
mm.
comedy. So How We Were Before is not a comedy.
No.
So no. So I wrote like a comic mystery that takes place where I live in Rockaway, in New
Mm,
York. So that has been fun, and I've been editing it for like a year. It's been a long process, and I'm about ready to start sending it out. And I have in the back of my mind an idea of a similar novel. I don't know if I'll actually do this, but
mhm.
um, a, a novel of connected stories in the same town that take place in a music studio, like a music lessons. Because I wrote one already that
Mm.
takes place in the there, and I really like that story. So I'm mulling the idea of writing more of those.
No, cool. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun, not only to write, but to, you know, get out there to readers. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just gotta. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do next, and I'm probably put that off for a little bit,
Hmm.
even making a big decision because obviously the book comes out on Monday, today's
Obviously.
Saturday, and I've been spending a whole bunch of time the last several months just really working on promotion, learning how to do that.
Hmm.
It's been exciting and challenging.
Hmm.
I have a bunch of readings coming up in June and a few in July.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really focused on that, just getting through that. I have live interviews, kind of like this. I'm doing
Mhm.
3 or 4 of those. Uh, one in Manhattan, one up in the Catskills,
Mhm.
one in Massachusetts. Actually, next Saturday, I'm going up there for a bookstore reading.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah. So once I get through this kind of period of a couple of months of really riding this wave with this book, I'll then start to sit back and think, okay, how do I want to spend a year or two of my time, with a new book?
Yeah, totally. So do you want to promote any of the your upcoming events?
Okay, sure. I'll see if
I
I can
just
remember it.
totally put you on the spot, but
No, I think I can remember. I could look it up too. I have a reading at a bookstore called An Unlikely Story in Plainville, Massachusetts. Um, the guy who wrote the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series,
oh
which I've never
yeah.
read, he founded that bookstore.
Oh,
So it's a
fun.
really cool bookstore. They have a huge reading space upstairs, and they've been really nice to me.
Mm,
Um, I've contacted a lot of bookstores, and usually don't hear anything. They were so nice to me and gracious, and the
mm,
book takes place in that area,
yeah.
Massachusetts, so it makes sense. So that is a week from today
Mm,
at 7 o'clock in a likely story.
very
I,
cool.
I have a reading in Catskill, New York, at a
Mm,
cafe called Cafe Joust.
mhm,
That is June 15th, I believe. Oh, this will all be on my website eventually, and I also have a newsletter that people can sign up for on my website, and people can get all this information. You just sign up for the newsletter. But yes, on the 15th, that's going to be fun. You mentioned I write plays,
Hmm.
and I've had several of my plays read up there in Saugerties and Catskill. I know a lot of people up there. I have like a little theater family up there, so that's why I decided to do a reading there. And I met a woman who's going to interview me at the cafe, so I think that'll be a lot of fun. A cafe joust.
Mm.
If you're from that area, you probably already know what that is.
Hmm.
And then I have like a book launch party, even though I've already had these other readings, but it'll be like a book launch party in Manhattan on the
Very
20th,
cool.
at Revision Lounge at also 7 o'clock. It's a Tuesday, I think.
Mm.
And there's a reading series called the Half King Reading Series, which is a very well known Manhattan reading series. And the host of that, who happens to be an old friend of mine, is going to
Hmm.
be running that reading and doing the Q&A. So I'm really excited about that. He's a phenomenal interviewer.
Oh, very cool. Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds like it's going to be a blast.
it'll be a blast. Yes. And then I have at the end of June, I think the 29th, I'm
Hmm.
going to be at a bar. I want to say it's Bar Matilde. It's in Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and I have some friends who own this bar, and they do like a movie series. So I'm going to pick a movie that I think connects to my book in
Okay.
some way, talk about it, and then we'll watch the movie.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big
Very.
movie person, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and this feels a little uh like I should have asked this first, but oh well. So so what is your writing process? Like, do you have a standard writing process, or are you more like by the seat of your pants?
I'm mostly by the seat of my pants,
Hmm.
but I do prepare before I jump into the pool. So I put on my bathing suit and my goggles before I dive in. So
Okay.
I will think about who the main character is, what the setting is, and I will start to try to figure out like what the problem is for the
Mm,
character. What is the central theme? I don't
mm,
always know what that is, um, but I'll just try to have an idea, and then I try to always put my characters in motion immediately,
mhm,
have them doing some action that really helps me. But when you get to the by the seat of my pants part of it, yes, then it helps me to have them in motion. And then usually I let that process help me figure out really what the story is about and what the character's problem is.
oh, cool. Actually, that again sounds like a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, that is fun. Harder to do with a longer book. Like when the novel that I just wrote, the mystery,
mhm,
um, a lot of that was by the seat of my pants, but I also had to map out a lot of things in advance, or I would have to change things. Like I'd get halfway through and I realize, okay, this doesn't work now, and I have to go back and start to refigure things.
mhm,
And if I write another mystery like that, um, I think I'll get even more organized because it was hard.
mm,
It's hard to change so many things and not have a total plan when it's a
mm.
mystery.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to write How We Were Before?
It's hard to measure that because I would say the first story I wrote for the book was roughly, I would say 2017. But
Oh,
that was
wow.
before I knew I was going to be writing this as a book.
Mm,
So I think you accepted it in 2022.
mhm.
So I think I decided that I wanted to write this in 2020, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
2020. So it took me a year and a half or so before I started sending it out.
Mhm. Oh, that's not bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I'm fudging a little here too. I don't
It's a
trust my memory.
eh, it's all good. You don't have to be precise. That's not the purpose of this. I don't know. Well, cool. Well, for those of you who may not be familiar, definitely go check out Jonathan's website, jonathankravitz.com. There's amazing praise that this has already received, and it isn't even out yet. Again, it comes out officially on Monday, but you can go pre-order, pick it up anywhere where you get your favorite stories.
Yeah.
So, with that, I'll go beat up Ben later for not showing up.
Why did he not show up? Okay.
No, I bet I'm gonna make a bet he forgot. So, but it's
Um,
fine. Um, so cool. All right. Well, with that, thank you again for such a great story, or stories, really,
mhm.
and thrilled to get this out in the world. So,
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate everything you've done, obviously, for publishing the book.
oh, uh, again, our pleasure to publish such great work. So awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks.
Okay. All right.